Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers allude that Harrison Chase may not be daddy material right now. Brooklyn Quartermain may refuse to borrow a baby when her hubby's going wild, so let's talk about a delicate discussion that's coming up. Chase and Brooklyn will bandy their coming chapter laterally during the week of January 26, 30, but that may not go as well as Chase might have hoped. Although Chase can't father a child naturally, he's still eager to borrow with Brooklyn. Suckers may recall that Brooklyn preliminarily pumped the thickets back when effects were so fragile with Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Brooklyn was concerned about how Gio might reply to her espousing a little bone after giving him up as a baby. In a perfect world, Brooklyn wanted to include Gio and make him feel like a real big family. Now that the pressure has lifted and Gio is reconnecting with Brooklyn, Chase will surely hope for the green light on the relinquishment. Unfortunately, Brooklyn may shut the idea down again, especially after she sees the results of Chase's brawl with Michael Corinthos. Following Chase and Michael's violent sweepstakes, Brooklyn may hurl questions at her hubby. A banged-up Chase may admit to throwing the first punch and leave Brooklyn bothered about how impulsive he's come. This isn't the only drama in Brooklyn and Chase's marriage right now, since he's been obsessed with Willow and her freedom for months. Chase risked his career and lately got hovered with captivity time since ADA Justine Turner feels like he blew the case. Now Chase is getting into dangerous fights in the Quartermain manse, so Brooklyn may have a big problem with that. Maybe Brooklyn will point out that one of the children at the house could have walked in at any moment. Brooklyn may wonder if that's what it's going to be like when they've a child of their own and push Chase to grow up before she'll indeed consider taking the coming step with him. General Hospital spoilers point to Chase and Brooklyn floundering when it comes to their family pretensions, so stay tuned for updates on any tough news that's brewing. Jason Morgan intruded Carly Spencer and Britt Westbourne's fight. Plus, Ross Cullum approached Rocco Falconeri, disturbing Britt, and Emma Scorpio Drake sought help from Nathan West. On General Hospital moment, Jason intruded Carly and Britt's fight. Jason intruded the argument between Britt and Carly at Bobby's. Britt, feeling that Carly had shown her why she'd no way be his precedence, demanded that Jason choose between them, which left Carly confused by the claim. When Jason didn't respond, Britt interpreted his silence as a decision and blamed him for always prioritizing Carly over her. She expressed that she could forgive him, but realized she couldn't, and told Jason to stay down from her before grabbing her bag and leaving the eatery. Carly came protective when Jason asked what she had said to Britt. Carly tried to explain Britt's crazy behavior. She told her stylish friend she held back when Britt pressed buttons. Jason suffed that after one talk with Carly, all of Britt's precariousness returned when effects were okay ahead. He wished Carly believed he could love her and still have space for someone differently. She said she no way asked Jason to choose, and their fellowship was better now than when she demanded constant solace about her place in his life. Read further, find out what happened on the last occasion of GH. Carly added that indeed if she dissented, she admired his choice to date Britt, just as he admired her choices. Jason, suspicious of Britt's unforeseen change, was determined to find out why she tried to fight with Carly and left. Cullum approached Rocco, upsetting Britt. Rocco was tidying the art remedy room at GH when Cullum walked by. After asking about the teens' community service, Cullum inquired about Dr. Britt Westbourne's office. Meanwhile, Britt arrived at the sanitarium after her argument with Carly and Jason and panicked upon seeing Cullum with Rocco. She entered the room, pretending a nanny had transferred her because someone was looking for her. Ross introduced himself as a WSB director and gave Britt an establishment handshake. After some small talk with Rocco about his community service, Britt took Cullum to her office. Chase and Brooklyn talked about his reduction. Harrison Chase told Brooklyn Quartermain that he'd been disrated to patrol officer following his internal affairs disquisition. He called the reduction a wake-up call, realizing he'd been too concentrated on his career. Chase expressed a desire to readdress their relinquishment plans, but Brooklyn bothered he was avoiding the impact of losing his operative emblem. Chase participated that he frequently allowed about getting a parent, but the reduction surprised him, indeed though he'd been right about Willow. He explained to his woman That he could regain the operative test in the future if the department supposed him good, and that Dante Falconeri advised him to take time to consider his options. Emma sought help from Nathan. Gio Palmieri took Emma to the PCPD to talk to Max Scorpio. Since he was out, Nathan helped them. Emma dithered to involve Nathan, but Gio prompted her to state her worries about Anna Devane's long absence. They went to the interrogation room, where Emma and Gio said Anna's silence was strange, and Felicia Scorpio and Robin Scorpio Drake hadn't heard from her moreover. Emma mentioned her mama was upset, as Anna frequently went off the grid for work, but she felt Commodity was out and had asked Jack Brennan to check on Anna. When Nathan returned, he told them there was no news on Anna in the PCPD records, but he'd search for her. We'll get answers. I know where to start, Nathan assured. Lucas took Jocelyn to Windmere. Lucas Jones took Jocelyn Jacks to Windmere for drinks. They set up Ava Jerome in the living room, formerly holding a martini after getting help from Marco Rios to measure for Jen Sidwell's new artwork. Joss was surprised to see Ava hosting and suddenly flashed back she had to watch Donna Corinthos. She tried to leave, but Ava said she mixed up the dates since Donna and Avery Jerome Corinthos were with Sonny Corinthos. Joss and Ava disaccorded. Lucas thanked Joss for staying and dealing with his Aunt Ava, and for getting to know Marco, unlike her mama. Lucas said he was empty and went to find food since Pascal the butler wasn't there. Alone in the living room, Jocelyn started looking around. When Ava caught her, Joss said she was just being nosy because Windmere was so wild and didn't feel right for her uncle. Ava compared it to a homecoming since Lucas lived there as a child, but Joss allowed. Lucas would have said home was wherever his family was a time ago. This made Ava say people can produce their own families, and they both loved numerous of the same people. Joss told her to stop pretending, saying that besides Avery, Ava only watched about herself. Marco forbade Lucas and Jocelyn exploring the vault under Windmere when Ava mocked Jocelyn for being hypercritical like her mama. Joss claimed she no way acted superior. Ava abominated that Joss saw her true tone. Perhaps Ava was right, but everyone pretends occasionally. I go you do too, Ava said, hitting the killed secret agent hard. Marco and Lucas returned with wine, agitating which red wine was better. After pouring some, Lucas suggested they explore the vault since he hadn't been there since nonage. Marco tried to stop him, saying the coverts were cold and damp, but when Lucas and Jocelyn got up to go, Marco jumped up and shocked them by saying, absolutely not. Anna woke up to the ghost of Peter in Anna's diggings downward. She awoke to find Peter August brewing over her bed. Teasing his Auntie Anna, Peter inquired if she had mourned him when he passed down, also joked that no bone in his family truly stayed dead. Anna yelled that he wasn't real, but Peter sarcastically responded that his father would be incredibly dissatisfied in her for rejecting what was right in front of her. I held your hand, and I watched you die, Anna asserted. Prodding her farther, Peter riposted, did you? Or was it simply another bone of my father's deceptions? He'd so numerous. And he's tricked you ahead. Anna demanded to see Faison also. Peter informed Anna that Caesar Faison had taken a long time to reveal himself to her, but it was nearly time for his father to make his appearance. Yelling at him to cease his chatter, Anna shut her eyes tightly and covered her cognizance while rocking back and forth. When she opened her eyes again, she demanded to see Faison incontinently, but Peter claimed that his father would show himself when he was prepared. Contending with her persecutor to end the cerebral torture, Anna cried out to Faison, show me your face. Just come then. The week at General Hospital opened not with a gentle breeze of calm, but with a charged atmosphere that felt like the moment just before a storm breaks. In Port Charles, every hallway echoed with unfinished arguments, every whispered promise carried the weight of a looming consequence, and every embrace felt like it might be the last safe harbor before the tide turned. What unfolded was a tapestry of encouragement wrapped around warning, of baptisms that felt less like water and more like fire, and of angry threats that cut through the town like lightning. A fragile dream of family. Harrison Chase stood at the edge of a future he desperately wanted to believe in, but that future refused to stay still long enough for him to reach. For months, he had carried the dream of building a family with Brooke Lynn Quartermain, holding it close as if it were something delicate that might shatter if handled too roughly. He knew the limitations of his own body, the quiet reality that he could not become a father in the traditional sense, yet he clung to the belief that love alone could fill the space biology left behind. Brooke Lynn, however, saw things through a different lens. Her heart was open, but her eyes were cautious. The past had taught her that not every desire was ready to be realized the moment it was spoken. She remembered the fragile bond she had been rebuilding with Giovanni Gio Palmieri, the son she had given up long ago. The thought of introducing another child into their lives stirred both hope and fear within her. In a perfect world, she wanted Gio to feel welcomed, included, embraced as an older brother who belonged, not as a reminder of a choice she could never undo. When Chase brought up adoption again, his voice carried both optimism and urgency, as though he feared that if he didn't speak now, the chance might slip through his fingers forever. Brooke Lynn listened, her face soft but her posture guarded. She wanted to believe in the life he was describing, yet the reality around them kept intruding, demanding to be acknowledged. The shadow of a fight. The Quartermain mansion, usually a place of grand staircases and guarded smiles, had recently become the stage for a much uglier display. Chase's clash with Michael Corinthos had left more than bruises behind, it had left doubt. Brooke Lynn couldn't ignore the sight of her husband nursing his injuries, the evidence of how quickly anger could push him into action without pause or reflection. She questioned him, her words sharp with concern rather than accusation. Had he thrown the first punch? Had he let his temper override his better judgment? Chase admitted the truth, and in doing so, revealed a side of himself that Brooke Lynn wasn't sure she recognized anymore. She spoke of the children who wandered those halls, of how easily one of them could have walked into the middle of that chaos. Her voice trembled, not with anger, but with fear. "This is what you want to bring a child into?" she asked quietly, and the question hung between them like a challenge he didn't know how to answer. Obsession and consequences. Brooke Lynn's worries ran deeper than one fight. Chase's fixation on Willow Kane's freedom had consumed him for months, blurring the line between duty and personal crusade. His determination had cost him professionally, an internal affairs investigation, a demotion, and the looming possibility of even greater consequences. ADA Justine Turner's threat of prison time still echoed in his mind, a reminder that good intentions did not always protect you from the fallout of risky choices. Chase confessed that losing his detective badge felt like losing a part of himself. He tried to frame it as a wake-up call, a chance to reevaluate what truly mattered. Yet Brooke Lynn could hear the unspoken question beneath his words: was he ready to change, or was he simply waiting for the next battle to fight? She challenged him to grow, to step out of the role of the impulsive hero and into that of a steady partner. Adoption, she insisted, wasn't just about wanting a child, it was about being ready to become the kind of person a child could depend on. A fight at Bobby's. Across town, Bobby's buzzed with attention of its own. Britt Westbourne and Carly Spencer found themselves locked in a heated exchange that drew the attention of anyone within earshot. Britt's frustration had reached a breaking point, and when Jason Morgan stepped in, hoping to defuse the situation, he found himself pulled into the center of the storm. Britt demanded clarity, not comfort. She wanted to know where she stood in Jason's life, whether she would ever come first or always exist in the shadow of Carly's presence. When Jason hesitated, his silence spoke louder than any answer he might have given. Britt took it as a verdict. She accused him of choosing Carly yet again, of proving that no matter what he said, his actions would always lead him back to his oldest loyalties. Her voice cracked as she admitted she had believed she could forgive him, believed she could make peace with being second. But in that moment, she realized she couldn't. With a final, wounded glance, Britt grabbed her purse and walked out, leaving Jason and Carly behind in a cloud of unresolved emotion. Carly's defense. Carly bristled at Jason's questioning, feeling unfairly cast as the villain in a story she hadn't written. She insisted she hadn't pushed Britt's buttons, hadn't tried to undermine Jason's relationship. Their friendship, she argued, had evolved into something stronger, something that didn't require constant reassurance. Jason listened, but his mind lingered on Britt's sudden shift in behavior. Things had been fine, hadn't they? Why now? The question gnawed at him, pushing him to follow Britt, to seek answers that might explain why everything had unraveled so quickly. A dangerous encounter at the hospital. At General Hospital, Ross Cullum's presence sent a ripple of unease through the halls. Rocco Falconeri, busy fulfilling his community service duties in the art therapy room, didn't realize the significance of the man who approached him. Cullum's questions were polite, almost casual, but they carried a weight that made Britt's heart race when she spotted them together. She rushed in, inventing a reason to pull Cullum away, her smile tight and forced. He introduced himself as a director with the WSB, his handshake firm, his gaze steady. Britt kept her composure, but inside, panic churned. She led him to her office, every step feeling like a countdown to something she wasn't ready to face. Demotion and dreams deferred. Later, Chase sat with Brooke Lynn, the reality of his demotion laid bare between them. He spoke of Dante Falconeri's advice, of taking time to figure out his next move, of possibly earning back his detective status someday. He admitted that becoming a parent had been a steady presence in his thoughts, a dream that refused to fade even as other parts of his life fell into uncertainty. Brooke Lynn heard his words, but her heart was heavy. She worried that he was using the idea of adoption as a way to avoid confronting his own disappointment. She wanted him to heal, to find stability, before they added another life into the mix. Their conversation ended not with a resolution, but with a quiet understanding that the road ahead would be more complicated than either of them had hoped. Searching for Anna. Elsewhere, Emma Scorpio Drake and Gio Palmieri sought answers that no one seemed able to provide. Anna Devane's prolonged absence had stirred unease, a sense that something wasn't right. With Max Scorpio unavailable, they turned to Nathan West, who listened carefully as they voiced their concerns. Emma admitted that her mother wasn't overly worried. Anna had a habit of disappearing for work, but Emma's instincts told her this time was different. She had even asked Jack Brennan to look into it, desperate for any sign of reassurance. Nathan promised to dig into the PCPD's records, to follow whatever trail he could find. "We'll get answers," he said, his confidence offering a small measure of comfort in the face of the unknown. Windmere's uneasy welcome. At Windmere, Lucas Jones and Jocelyn Jacks arrived expecting a quiet drink and a moment of peace. Instead, they found Ava Jerome already settled in, martini in hand, hosting as though the grand, eerie estate were her own. Joss's discomfort was immediate, her instincts telling her she didn't belong in that space. Their conversation quickly turned sharp. Ava spoke of chosen families, of building a home wherever you stood. Joss countered with the belief that family was something you carried with you, not something you constructed out of convenience. The tension between them crackled, each word a subtle jab. When Lucas suggested exploring the catacombs beneath the mansion, the mood shifted. Marco Rios's sudden, firm refusal cut through the room, his urgency raising more questions than it answered. A haunting vision. The most chilling moment of the week unfolded in Anna Devane's quarters. She awoke to see Peter August standing over her, his presence both impossible and terrifying. He taunted her, questioned her memories, hinted that even his own death might have been another of Caesar Faison's elaborate deceptions. Anna's fear turned to anger as she demanded proof, demanded to see Faison himself. Peter's voice was calm, almost amused, as he told her his father would appear when he was ready. Overwhelmed, Anna covered her ears, rocking back and forth, pleading for the torment to end. Her cry for Faison echoed in the room, a desperate challenge to whatever forces were playing with her mind. Encouragement amid the chaos. Through all the turmoil, small moments of kindness flickered like candles in the dark. Friends offered words of support, hands reached out in comfort, and quiet promises were made to stand by one another no matter what came next. These moments didn't erase the anger or the fear, but they reminded everyone in Port Charles that even in the midst of their worst days, they were not entirely alone. As the week drew to a close, the air in town felt heavier than ever. Hung over relationships and careers alike. Decisions made in anger threatened to reshape lives, while choices born of love risked leading to heartache.